This video is now in session, and this is another, I guess, game video, but in this video, we're going to talk about US cities, and I'm going to try to see how many cities I can guess within a given time. So, in this video, we're going to do how many US cities I can guess in 1 minute, and 5 minutes, and let's do 13 minutes for the 13 colonies. So, okay, actually, no, how about, yeah, so 1 minute, 5 minute, and 13 minutes. Alright, so, with that, I'm not really confident about this because I have a tendency to forget a lot of places I've been to, but we'll see how this goes. So I'm going to start from the east since I know more of the east than the west, and then I'll try to make my way over there. And then I might try to see if I can fit some commentary in this, but let's start the timer 1 minute. So 1 minute starts. Oh wait, let me get the timer up. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, Portland, Maine, and then New York City, Nashua, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Princeton, New Jersey, and then we also have the capital of New York, Albany, Hartford, New Haven. Do I have to do caps? No. Okay. Rhode Island, Boston. How did oh wait, not Rhode Island, Providence. Springfield, Massachusetts. Um, Burlington, Plattsburgh, Burlington, Vermont, Los Angeles. I should probably be guessing bigger cities first, because I need to get as much population as possible. Chicago, oh gosh, Philadelphia, and, oh, okay, well. Alright, so how many cities did I guess? I mean, a lot of these places are actually not cities. Yeah, I just realized I should have been guessing big cities before going into smaller ones. 8.4% of the urban population. Okay, that's not super bad, but I did miss a lot of cities. That's fine. 1 minute though, it was 1 minute. Okay, next one, we'll do 5 minutes. Should I restart the map? Yes, I should. So this time we're gonna do 5 minutes, clear. And this time I have an actual strategy compared to the last one, even though I should have had a strategy for that one and not this one. But anyway, let's start in 3, 2, 1. Okay, Boston, Portland, Oregon, and then San Francisco, Dallas, Houston, and Los Angeles. This time I'm just going at random order now, trying to get as many cities as I can first before doing other things. Philadelphia, Washington, I can never forget Washington, Miami, Tampa, Fairfax is not really a city, Raleigh, and then Charlotte, Austin, San Antonio, Anchorage, Phoenix, Santa Fe, Albuquerque, what? Albuquerque. Okay. I'm surprised I actually got that. Okay, Akron, Cleveland, Detroit, all the Rust Belt states, Milwaukee, Madison, Minneapolis, St. Paul, what else? St. Louis, Denver, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas, as usual, Albany, Nashua. Gosh, spelling is going to be a bigger problem for me, I think, than actually remembering. Burlington, Syracuse, where Biden was, Ithaca, Buffalo, Niagara Falls, Providence. Okay, I'm actually gonna do California first, because I know some amount. San Jose, Santa Rosa, Redden, South Lake Tahoe, Riverdale, Glendale, not okay. Riverdale, Weed, as always. Okay, Sacramento, Santa Clara, and then we also have San Luis Obispo, San Luis Obispo. I don't know. Okay, San Diego. Shoot, I forgot about that. Is this really good content, guys? This is not good content at all, Bakersfield. This is just me trying to rehash all of this. I'm not gonna see, the thing with commentary is I'm not really that good at it because I'm pretty new at it, but I'll try to do some commentary. In California, there's currently a recall situation happening, and it's pretty interesting because there hasn't been a recall in California since Gray Davis was elected in 2003, I believe. So the thing with Gavin Newsom and his recall is that it's a lot more partisan, I guess, compared to the Gray Davis recall, where it was a lot more bipartisan. And with it being more partisan, you have Republicans that are very who really want Gavin Newsom to go away, but a lot of Californians, the majority of Californians, who don't want Gavin Newsom to be gone because of how I guess ridiculous it is, and in terms of it being ridiculous, that's up to your interpretation whether it is or it isn't, but nonetheless, it's most likely not going to work. But what I do find interesting about that race is that is that a lot of Democrats don't want to pay attention to that race, but we'll have to see if that backfires, because if there's a lot of Democrats who don't pay attention to that race, then there's not a lot of Democrats who would actually go out and vote for that recall election. So we could see a minority of Californians go for Republicans. At least that's what people allege. But I still think that's very unlikely to happen, just because I don't think Californians are that ridiculous. I just don't think there are enough minority of Californians to warrant that kind of result. But it is interesting though, because Gavin Newsom is a very polarizing figure, and we've seen a lot of governors become very polarizing figures. For example, Ron DeSantis of Florida, and that's time. But yeah, Ron DeSantis. Oh gosh, Ron DeSantis. He did that anti-Fauci thing, didn't he? Where he's now selling shirts saying "Don't Fauci my Florida," and you know, it's I don't. A lot of people say he shouldn't sell that, but like ultimately that's his decision whether to sell it or not. I mean, as long as he's not really using taxpayer dollars, then he can do whatever he wants. But Florida currently, ironically speaking, is doing right now very bad in COVID cases compared to the rest of the United States. So. But Fauci, though, I get why people don't like Fauci. He has been used as a political figure to the point where, for both liberals and conservatives, it's right to say that Fauci was a disaster for the CDC, in the fact that he was not really the best voice. When you have pandemics, when you have health crises, usually you need a voice that can provide some kind of comfort and as well as information. And in the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw a clash between Donald Trump and Anthony Fauci, because both of them wanted to be communicators of the pandemic, of what's happening with the virus, and as a result, both of them, or at least mainly Donald Trump, started lashing out at Dr. Fauci, and some of it is for good reason, some of it isn't for pretty trivial reasons, but nonetheless, he's been turned into a polarizing figure, and it's another. I guess it's another thing we did wrong as a nation to try to suppress the virus. It's another thing that went badly, which is actually communicating the virus, how it spreads, how it works, and what you can do to prevent the spread of it. The entire pandemic as a whole has been so politicized to an unnecessary degree that we're seeing people die because of politicization of all of of the entire process, from the very first case through vaccines, through CDC guidances, through stay-at-home requirements, through quarantining, and now as a country we're dealing with the repercussions of it, and a lot of that is people die because of how people use politics and power to do bad things, or at least to make things worse. In fact, if American politics was not involved in the virus at all, as in, if you didn't have any politicians talk about COVID-19, there would be good reasons to think that less people would have died if more politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, would have just shut up. So, and that's very sad, to think that literally our politicians have made this problem into a catastrophe. But yeah, that's just unfortunately how American politics works these days, including the Afghanistan war and other things. But those are all of those are very deep topics that could be discussed in another video. But they're also very polarizing topics. I know a lot of people like Dr. Fauci, and then I also know people who very well hate Dr. Fauci. So yeah, I could make a video on it. We'll see. But anyway, now we're at 13 minutes. So 13 minutes. I have a lot more time to list all the cities, and I guess for the first 4 minutes of it, I'm gonna actually concentrate. So let's start with it. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, New York City, Philadelphia. Philadelphia, I've been there so many times. A lot of people say Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is very overrated. After you go there for like why is Detroit not? What is it? Detroit, Michigan. Detroit, Michigan. Oh, there, finally. Okay. But yeah, a lot of people say Philadelphia is good, but after you go there once or maybe twice at most, you don't really want to go there again. Why is this not registering? Glass. Why? Okay. Anyway. Yeah. I think Philadelphia is not really that. You could visit it once, but I don't have any reason to visit it more than twice. Even though I visited it for probably 40 times at this point. That said, I think that I would probably one of the states I would probably want to go to is Texas, because Texas, I love Texas food. I love barbecue. It's a very American thing, but yeah, the people. But Texas is going very fast, which is why I constantly talk about Texas, because it's so interesting to see how the politics of Texas is forming, because you have a state that's becoming more competitive, but then you also have a Republican state legislature that's becoming more conservative and less moderate. So it's very interesting to see the demographics of it, because Texas could end up like Arizona, or it could end up like Florida. It's literally in between those two states, but it could end up like either state, and it's all based off of the Latino vote in the Rio Grande Valley. A lot of that vote is indicative of what's happening in Texas right now, how they think about Trump, how they think about Biden, and how they think about I guess not how they think about the national elections. Let's see if I can spell this correctly. Albuquerque. Okay. That took less time, but that is Albuquerque. Can someone tell me what Albuquerque means? I'll probably search it up after this video ends, but Uh, but I keep on wondering why it's called Albuquerque. And now I just jumped from New Mexico to Montana into Wyoming all of a sudden, but I'm gonna keep with that. Jackson, not Mississippi, Jackson, Wyoming, and then you also have in Montana. Montana, you have a bunch of small cities. So there's Billings, there's Bozeman, there's Missoula, and then there's Grand Falls, Great Falls. Oh, Great Falls, and then you have Butte, and then Kalispell. Those are, I think, all the small cities in Montana. Montana is expected to gain, or not expected, they will gain another congressional district, and it's probably because of all these small cities that are starting to grow. But Texas, what's interesting about that redistricting process is that even though it has two districts, and even though it is viable, it is possible that you could redistrict them so it would be both Republican. It's likely to be that there would have to be one district that would be Democratic because of how Montana votes. Republicans usually win by around 10 to 15% in those elections. So it's likely that you'll have a safe Republican district and then a competitive Democratic district because it's very hard to gerrymander this state so that both seats are Republicans. It's certainly possible, but right now it seems like the Montana state legislature is actually very moderate, and it's up to right now an independent commission, I believe, or a political commission to create those maps. So it's likely that we'll see a Democratic district in Montana, which is something we haven't seen for a very long time. But like a lot of things these days, it's been a very long time since we saw old American politics, which was like in 1980s. Before in the 1990s, we saw a transition to a more modern American political system. But some people like the nostalgia of seeing a Democrat in Montana or a Democrat in North Dakota or a Republican in California. Those days were actually a lot. Those days were a lot. I would have pity actually on forecasters on like 538 because back then almost every single state was very competitive in terms of the presidential election. If you look at the 1980 election, the 1976 election, those kinds of elections, almost every single state, with the exception of maybe a few northeastern states, were very competitive. So yeah, it would have been I don't think it would necessarily have been so hard to forecast who would win in a presidential election. It would have just been very time consuming to go through every single state because they were all competitive back then. Today, we only have just a few states that are competitive, and as a result, we only have a few states that truly decide the outcome of an election. Back then, it was the nation as a whole would decide the outcome of an election, but now we just have the Rust Belt and the Sun Belt. But that's in some ways it might be a good thing for politicians because you don't have to travel to as many states. You don't have to worry about as many states flipping for your opponent. But it's like everything in American politics, it's interesting to see how it has grown over the decades from where it was to where it is right now. And I've gotten a lot of places: Minneapolis, St. Paul. I'm gonna concentrate a little bit more. So we have Minneapolis, St. Paul, San Diego, Redding. We have Weed, and then Fresno, Merced, Stockton, where all of the crime is, Oakland, Alameda, and then Berkeley, Emeryville, if I can get that. And then Provo, Utah. We have Cedar Rapids. I don't think that's actually in Utah. I think that's it's in Iowa. And then we have St. George. That is definitely in Utah. There is a place in Utah right here. I know there's like a small city, but I forgot what it was called. Anyway, we have Page, Arizona, and then Flagstaff, Sedona, Tucson. I always spelled that city wrong. And then there's also another place here in New Mexico. It's Los. Okay, I forgot. I'm not gonna guess that, but I know that because like New Mexico's second district, the second district of New Mexico went to a Democrat in 2018, Representative Small, and she was able to win because primarily because there was this like small Democratic city in in the southwest portion of New Mexico, but she lost. She lost in 2020 to a Republican. Anyway, I should probably get I should at least get all 50 states. Oklahoma City, and then you also have Tulsa. And Arkansas, you really don't have. No, not. I don't mean North Carolina. Arkansas. What? Fayetteville is really not. Okay, it is. Brandiston. That might be Florida. I guess not. There should be something in Florida near not Saratoga. Is it? Oh gosh, I am mixing up all my names. Sarasota. Saratoga is definitely a place in California, though. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going. Louisiana. There's New Orleans, and there's Baton Rouge, as well as Shreveport, and then in Arkansas, you also have Little Rock, which is where Clinton was, Bill and Hillary Clinton. In Alabama, you have both Birmingham and as well as Montgomery. In Tennessee, you have Memphis as well as Nashville. You have Louisville in Kentucky as well as Lexington. And that reminds me of Lexington and Concord, New Hampshire. In Indiana, you have really just nothing useful there. And then Carmel, fun fact, has the most roundabouts of any place in the United States. And the thing with roundabouts is they're very underrated in my opinion. A lot of people like to give roundabouts hate because you have to slow down, but the thing is roundabouts save more time than traffic lights because you don't have to wait for a traffic light to turn from red to green. With roundabouts you can directly go on, and it also reduces the chances that you'll be T-boned or that a T-bone will happen to your car. So I don't get why roundabouts are not implemented more. It might just be American stubbornness, but but I guess like anything related to American politics, the simplest solution, the easiest the easiest solution is usually the solution that's never implemented. I don't know why I did not get the East Coast in Hartford, New Haven. I only have 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. Okay, Bangor, Maine, and then you also have Portland, Maine. In Michigan, you have a lot of small cities, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and then Kalamazoo, as well as Flint. I think there's another place here, but I forgot what it is. Wisconsin, you also have Madison and La Crosse. And then Nebraska, you have Omaha and as well as Lincoln, and then nothing else. Kansas, you have Kansas City, at least the smaller part of Kansas City, and Wichita, and Topeka. And then in Hawaii, you have Honolulu, and Lihue, and Hilo. In Alaska, you have Anchorage, Fairbanks, Utqiagvik. Actually, no, I think it's Barrow. Either name works, and then you have Juneau. And then let me see if I have the state capital. So, Oregon, you have Salem, and then Olympia and Washington. I already got Idaho, and as well as Pocatello and Idaho Falls. I already have Montana, Idaho. I think I already have Wyoming in the capital, Denver. You also have Pueblo, even though that's not the Grand Junction. And then I have 52 seconds. Albuquerque, Phoenix, Sacramento. How do I not have Sacramento? Las Vegas, Henderson, and then I think that's right. those two states are definitely not right, but I don't know what is in the Dakotas. That is, I can also put Duluth and then Green Bay. I don't have anything for West Virginia. Frick. Jacksonville is the state. Nope, not Jacksonville. Tallahassee, I think. No, I am running out of time. Okay. Augusta, and then Savannah. Okay. And then Virginia. Oh, Richmond. Well, okay. Alright, that was 13 minutes. Oh gosh, I did not concentrate well. I didn't even get anything for Vermont, even though I already know like 3 places there. Okay. That's fine though. What percentage? 22.05. I actually kind of wanted 50%, but I did, yeah, but I did remember though that like a lot of people don't live in cities, so it's very hard to get 50%. But anyway, that's all the places that I've gotten in 1 minute, in 5 minutes, and in 13 minutes. And I also put in some questionable commentary about Dr. Fauci, roundabouts, very random things, but there's a lot of things to talk about American politics, and that's why I like it so much, which is that you might have an opinion, but other people also have opinions, and you have to account for those opinions when making some kind of judgment or any statement. So, yeah, that's what makes American politics special. Well, yeah, that's what makes politics, I guess, in general special. But that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll probably never do these videos again.